It was raining heavily outside, the kind of rain that blurred the world into a haze of grey and silver streaks. The cafe on the corner buzzed with quiet chatter and the sound of cups clinking against saucers. Evelyn Walker sat near the window, her laptop open, her fingers flying across the keys. She was entirely absorbed in her work, her dark brown curls framing her face as she focused on the screen. She didn't notice the man who had just walked in, shaking droplets of rain from his coat before glancing around the room. Liam Carter was in town for a business meeting, and the weather had stranded him here longer than expected. He was a corporate strategist, sharp, polished, and known for his calm demeanour. But today, as he ordered his black coffee and scanned the room for a quiet place to sit, his gaze landed on Evelyn. She was oblivious to the world, her intensity both intriguing and strangely magnetic. Without thinking much, he walked over. "Excuse me," Liam said, his voice smooth but polite. "Do you mind if I sit here? The rest of the tables seem to be full." Evelyn glanced up, her green eyes meeting his for the first time. There was a moment's hesitation as she sized him up, then she gestured toward the empty chair. "Sure." He slid into the seat across from her, placing his coffee down carefully. For a few minutes, silence lingered between them. Liam noticed her typing furiously, a determined furrow in her brow, while Evelyn was acutely aware of his presence, his confidence filling the small space they now shared. "What are you working on?" he finally asked, his curiosity getting the better of him. Evelyn hesitated, debating whether to share. "A proposal," she said, finally looking up. "I'm an architect. I'm pitching for a project tomorrow, an urban green space in the city. It's important." Liam's brows raised slightly in interest. "An architect? That's impressive," she shrugged. "Impressive doesn't win contracts. Details do." Her response brought a small smile to his lips. He liked her straightforwardness. "Mind if I take a look?" he asked, gesturing toward her laptop. For a second, she debated telling him to mind his own business, but something about his tone was disarming. She turned the screen slightly toward him, letting him skim through the proposal. As he read, his expression shifted, his professional instincts kicking in. "This is good," he said, nodding. "But here," he pointed at a section, "you could strengthen your case with a few statistics about community impact. It'd reinforce the emotional appeal." Evelyn's eyes narrowed. "Are you some sort of expert?" Liam chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "Something like that. I'm a corporate strategist. My job is to make people's ideas irresistible. And this," he nodded toward her laptop again, "has potential." His confidence annoyed her slightly, but she couldn't deny he had a point. "Noted," she said curtly, turning the screen back toward herself. "Glad I could help," he said, sipping his coffee, the corners of his mouth twitching upward. There was a spark of something unspoken between them, an undercurrent of interest neither was ready to admit. The next morning, Evelyn arrived at the pitch with her newly revised proposal. She'd taken Liam's advice, even though she hadn't wanted to. To her surprise, the clients were impressed, nodding along as she presented the statistics and visuals with a quiet authority. By the time she finished, she knew she had them. The project was hers. Later that evening, as she walked out of the meeting with a rare sense of accomplishment, she found Liam waiting outside the same café where they had first met. He was leaning against the wall, his hands in his coat pockets, the rain now just a light drizzle. "You again," Evelyn said, stopping in her tracks. "Me again," Liam replied with a grin. "How'd it go?" She crossed her arms, unable to stop the small smile spreading across her lips. "I got it." He nodded, as though he had expected nothing less. "Congratulations, that's worth celebrating." Evelyn raised an eyebrow. "You just happened to be here waiting to celebrate with me?" "Let's call it intuition," he said, stepping closer. "What do you say?" She considered him for a moment, the stranger who wasn't really a stranger anymore. He'd helped her, challenged her, and now, standing in the soft glow of the streetlights, she realized she didn't mind his company. Not one bit. "Fine," she said, feigning reluctance. "But you're buying." What started as one shared coffee turned into a series of moments they couldn't ignore. Over the weeks, they found themselves gravitating toward each other. Evelyn's fierce independence softened in Liam's presence, and Liam, who had always been focused on his career, found himself captivated by her ambition and warmth. They were different in many ways. Evelyn's creative chaos contrasting with Liam's meticulous order, but together they balanced each other. He became her sounding board, and she became his escape from the rigid corporate world. Their connection deepened with each passing day, and soon their professional respect blossomed into something neither had anticipated. Years later, as Evelyn stood at the opening of the urban green space she had designed, a project that had now become a symbol of hope and community, Liam was by her side, his hand resting lightly on her back. They had built something far greater than the space around them. They had built a life together, one filled with mutual respect, love, and the understanding that sometimes the most unexpected meetings could lead to the happiest of endings.